Welcome to the All the Books Show, episode 230, where we talk book news, author news, and literary news. I'm Eric Mickles.
I'm Nick Gunning.
Today, we're going to the final frontier. A second time.
I guess so. I thought you were going to say where no one has gone before, but your final frontier thing worked as well.
Thank you.
We have only done, believe it or not, this is only our second episode dedicated
I don't believe it!
to a Star Trek franchise, but we are going to be talking specifically about Picard and the Next Generation because the CBS All Access show Picard, which is debuting on January 23rd, 2020, and has already been renewed for a second season, is coming up soon, so there's a lot of promotional things going on, a lot of new books and graphic novels related to the series coming out. So we thought we'd do a deep dive into the Next Generation, talk about some of our favorite, some of my favorite episodes and books and things, and we'll see.
It's funny, you say this is only our second time, but like any good writer,
yes.
I think you found many backdoor pilots for the Star Trek series.
I do what I can.
Don't we have a Star Trek playlist on
We do,
the
and actually, thank you for bringing that up.
It's like
because
5 or 6 episodes.
If you ever go to our SoundCloud page, so maybe you just subscribe to the podcast and some other app, but if you actually go to our SoundCloud page, soundcloud.com/allthebooks, a lot of our episodes are compiled into playlists. So, for example, we have a Star Wars playlist, we have a Christmas episodes playlist, and we do have a Star Trek playlist because we have interviewed many authors who have written.
Even when we get like an author like Joe Haldeman, I was like, I'm going to ask him about the Forever War, I'm going to ask him all about this stuff. And you're like, right, but when you were writing Star Trek...
Look, he opened up a lot
That's
on
true.
those. Joe Haldeman opened up a lot on those Star Trek questions. So
I know, it always blows your mind when you're talking to a Star Trek writer who's like, and I was talking to Gene Roddenberry.
I know, it's crazy.
And you're like, what?
But yes, we do have a Star Trek playlist, which includes episode 48, All the Books Beyond, a Star Trek spotlight we did with my brother Steven, who guest starred in that episode.
That was all Star Trek.
It was all Star Trek. Coinciding really with the 50th anniversary of Star Trek and Star Trek Beyond.
That was actually the only thing Paramount did for their 50th anniversary. Have us do that one episode.
But you can also, in that playlist or wherever you get your podcasts, you can find our interviews with authors David Dvorkin, Joe Haldeman, Mel Gilden, and most recently Alan Dean Foster. We talk a little bit about their Star Trek writings in all of those interviews. So check us out at soundcloud.com/allthebooks. And while you're on iTunes or whatever, go ahead and give us a rating and review.
Yeah.
You hate when I say that, don't you?
No.
We need them.
It's important.
We need them.
I know.
All right. So we are going to be talking about the Next Generation a little later, but right now it's time to open up the old books, find where the bookmarks are.
I finished The Calculating Stars by Mary Robinette
Oh,
Kowal.
yes. Hugo Award-winning book.
Yeah. You know what, too? Last time I was complaining that I read Childhood's End.
Yeah.
Because I thought it was a Hugo winner.
Yeah.
But I said, no, it's a retro Hugo.
Right.
It's not. It was nominated for the retro Hugo Award.
So it didn't even win.
No.
2-time loser, you read.
I guess so.
Is that
I guess
author?
that's one way you can think of it. Look, the point is I still enjoyed it. I'm glad I read that. I read The Calculating Stars. It's pretty good. It is, as I said, a alternate history set in the 50s where a meteorite crashes to Earth and creates an extinction-level event, so we got to get into space.
Right.
It's a lot of hidden numbers with the women behind the scenes and the main character trying to become an astronaut, but it's the 50s and she's a woman, so things aren't easy. But it was pretty good. So I think near the end, I was like, I'm ready to move. I'm ready for something to happen. But yeah.
Is this a series you're going to follow? It's at least a trilogy, right? I mean, book 2 is out, and I want to say book 3's in the works.
I'm not sure if I'm going to pick up the second one anytime soon.
Okay.
But I'm glad I read this one.
One of these days.
Yeah.
Okay.
What else did I finish? I've read a whole bunch of X-Men comics.
That's cool.
That's part of this line. None that are really worth mentioning other than I kind of enjoyed the Jean Grey volume that I read. She got her own, the time-displaced Jean Grey. So the Jean Grey from the 60s, who's a teenager. The 6 issues I read were fun. So that volume is just called Jean Grey.
I enjoyed the Cyclops
Nightmare
series
Fuel?
from that.
Yeah. Well, Jean, I'm pretty sure this is like the first Jean Grey solo book ever to have happened.
That's when Cyclops found out that she was going to get her own book and was not going to be in the X-Men book. He'd be like, Jean?
Yeah.
Jean.
I'm also reading XCOM 2 Resurrection. This is a prequel to the game XCOM 2, which was a sequel to the reboot of the game XCOM Enemy Unknown. And its expansion XCOM Enemy Within.
It's a lot to take in, what you just said.
Here's the thing.
Okay.
So XCOM Enemy Unknown, you're fighting against aliens.
Yeah.
in the game, you can win and you can defeat the aliens. XCOM 2, the game, treated it like you lost in that game. So now the aliens have taken over. So now you're like a rebel group. And so this book is kind of explaining what happened in between those two things. So it's cool. Mainly, I picked it up because with the XCOM game, specifically the first one, it has a really cool like aesthetic, and I like the world building and everything. So I just wanted some more time with that. I'm also reading I'm Still Alive by Kate Marshall about a teenage girl who gets lost in the wilderness after a cabin burns down and her father dies.
Yeah, this was a sexy new book that we did.
Yeah. A while ago. Yeah, quite a while ago. It's funny because she just straight up mentions like, oh, this reminds me of a book I read where a boy gets lost in the woods with a hatchet.
Called Hatchet.
So I think that's probably a smart move to be like, yes, I get it.
Yeah,
Hatchet exists.
Hatchet-like.
And I also finished the Incorruptible series, which was kind of a spin-off of the Irredeemable series. Irredeemable's like if Superman went crazy.
Yeah.
Incorruptible's like if...
So is the movie Man of Steel.
Oh, yeah. Incorruptible is basically a super strong supervillain, tries to be a superhero. Now, it's good. It's never that great. I think the problem is it's connected to Irredeemable, so it's just too connected to that story. It would have been, I think... had more flexibility to have been its own thing.
Understood.
And the end was not great. So the last issue didn't really do anything for me. So that's it.
Okay. Pretty good haul.
Thanks.
Let's see. What have I been up to bookmark-wise? Well, let me just pull up my list here. I read a couple of goofy things. I read the novel Arrival, which is a Smallville novel, not written by our friend Jeff Gottesfeld, but as part of that series. I didn't even put that on the list because it's not interesting to people, so I wasn't planning on bringing it up.
Did it deal with any like hot topics or?
No, this was pretty much just a straight up novelization of the pilot. So it was kind of dull, but Jeff Gottesfeld's and Sheree Bennett's Smallville books really do dive into some things.
Yeah.
So that's a fun episode too. Go find the interview with Jeff Gottesfeld, soundcloud.com/allthebooks. But I finished the book by Jorma Kaukonen from Hot Tuna Jefferson Airplane called Ben So Long. It was pretty good. You know, when I went to this Hot Tuna concert with my friend Chris, like I didn't really know much about their music. I, of course, knew like the Jefferson Airplane songs that one knows if you listen to music at that time. But
White Rabbit.
I didn't really,
Remember. Hey, you keep talking. I'm going to finish that note.
Thank you.
What the door?
But I really didn't know the story, and I didn't really know because it's confusing because you have you've got two of them break off and do Hot Tuna, then you have like Jefferson,
it's such a mess.
Jefferson Starship, and then Jefferson Airplane gets back to it's a whole thing.
It's like a car crash happens, and at the end everybody's like, "Wait, what car am I in
Let's
now?"
do a different band with similar. Anyway, so the book was called Ben So Long, and I actually enjoyed it quite a bit. It was just sort of a good rock memoir. I mean, it wasn't. It wasn't like deep or gritty or anything like that, but it really was kind of like a fly by seat of your pants kind of going through this career. So I liked it. I learned a lot more, and I was sort of syncing up the albums like as I was reading them, and he would mention them in the book. I'd play that album in the background. So it's quite the multimedia experience.
Right. Tell you what, every time I read a book about a rock memoir, it's just so boring. It's just
you don't
here
like
I am.
Yeah, you don't.
I'm a rock again.
Bruce Springsteen just doing stuff.
Just
yours about actual rocks.
Right, actual
rock.
rock.
About rock.
Just sitting there.
I believe it.
Watching time.
They probably put a dinosaur on the cover and you just read it, not knowing.
Darn it.
Okay, here's the part where I have
Don't tell publishers about that tactic.
Where I have to be that jerk who takes something that's classic and beloved and say I don't like it, but The Great Gatsby, right? Have you read it?
Yes.
Did you like it?
Not really.
Yeah,
I didn't really get it.
That's how I felt.
But my wife really likes it.
Okay.
And I mean, it is a classic.
Yeah, I mean, obviously there's something there. It stood the test of time and it's beloved.
Just
and
sad
and discussed, but yeah, it's kind
Gatsby's so obsessed with the past.
Yeah, it's kind of a sad story, and it's sort of like it's hard when you're just sort of following unpleasant people doing things that are
Watch the movie The Fighter.
Yeah, right?
Actually, watch any of David O. Russell's films.
Well, hold on, because now you brought this up, and now I got to stick with it for a minute, because are you aware that Marky Mark is doing a Spencer movie, like based on Robert B. Parker's Spencer novels?
That's a weird
Have you
cast.
seen previews for this?
No.
I guess it's a Netflix movie. It's called, what is it called?
Trouble in
Will you
Paradise?
look that up? Mark Wahlberg, Spencer. I can't remember what it's called, but yeah, Marky Mark is playing Spencer. And I'm just, my mind is blown by this. It's weird casting. It doesn't make any sense to me. I'm shocked that they're doing a Spencer movie. And it's actually
Spencer Confidential.
Thank you. And it's actually based on one of the Ace Atkins novels, not even one of the original Robert Parker. So it's just a weird thing to do, but okay. If you want to know more about Robert Parker, you can dive into the All the Books archives, listen to our spotlight on Robert B. Parker, which at one point was called a hamburger's bookmark.
Mm-hmm. So it's a pickle.
It's a pickle.
A pickle is
it's
a hamburger.
Pickle, yeah.
Hamburger's bookmark.
Yeah, so you can check that out. Anyway, so that's what I've been reading. I'm currently reading a book called Roots, Radicals, and Rockers by Billy Bragg. This is a nonfiction about basically the start of skiffle music, which led to really sort of led to the Beatles, honestly. So it's a pretty interesting, it's a pretty interesting book so far. And I'm reading Star Trek Into Darkness by Alan Dean Foster because I learned nothing from last time when you told me not to read a novelization of a middle movie in a trilogy when I don't like that movie. But here I am again.
Yeah, I mean, it was specifically, I don't understand why you take something that you don't like and just keep experiencing it.
Yeah.
So
what are you going to do?
I don't know.
Yeah. It's like when you touch a hot stove and you're like, well.
Like how you had a second surgery that one time.
Yeah.
It was like you didn't like it the first time. Why would you do it again?
Yes. I'm reading Star Trek Into Darkness for the book club with my pals, and we all loved the Star Trek novelization by Alan Dean Foster, so we were like, let it ride, keep going. Yeah. But, it's dumb in all the ways the movie are dumb. Surprise, surprise. So
without Peter Weller in there.
Yeah, that's true.
So
you just have to imagine Peter Weller.
Yeah.
It's actually read.
Wilson.
I'm listening to the audiobook in part, and it's read by Alice Eve, who played Carol Marcus in that movie.
Oh,
also read a bunch of DC comics.
Sure did cast her as that character.
I read a bunch of DC comics as well.
DC comics.
But I haven't finished any trades because I'm reading single issues. But do you want to talk about 1917? Because we both saw it.
We did both see 1917.
Is that up for an Academy Award?
Yeah.
Okay. For Best Picture and everything?
Yeah.
And you go for it. You saw it first.
So 2019 was really disappointing for me in terms of my big genre films.
Yes.
And eliciting zero emotion from me.
Right.
Which is kind of depressing because that's where I used to get all of that from.
Yeah.
Especially
healthy. Super healthy. I think we can all agree.
Especially superhero movies because they would just be bigger and have more cinematic scenes and it was much more of a visual, sensational experience where even something bad.
Birds of Prey next month.
Where even something as bad as Rise of the Silver Surfer could still at times collect a scene that has enough happening on screen and audibly that you're like, oh, this is cool.
I get it.
And in 2019, I was just nothing was eliciting this emotion. And then I saw Ad Astra and 1917, and I'm like, I guess the lower budget, more experimental these kind of films are what's eliciting that emotion now because
it's like you're aging right in front of me.
I know. I feel so old. Who needs superheroes when you have
new kids always talking so fast?
Because there are scenes in 1917 that remind me of Chris Nolan's style that is also very much here's a Hans Zimmer score to 11.
Yeah.
Interstellar was very much at times I'm just going to throw images and music at them and they are going to feel shook.
Yeah. As I recall, you much preferred the soundtrack to the movie. Is that right?
Interstellar?
Yeah.
I really like the soundtrack. Yeah. So there are scenes in 1917. Because the character's basically running all the time. That made me feel the same way I used to feel watching. Spider-Man swinging across the scene. So I guess you're right. I guess I'm now an 87-year-old man, and I got to go play chess in the park for a while.
Yeah, I guess
see you later.
I guess you do.
I got to go teach a kid about how chess is the real cool thing to be doing. Mm-hmm. And if you really want to be cool, you buck the curve and you stay in school or something.
Yeah.
I don't know.
I like it.
And then I go to his championship thing, and he's like, I didn't think you'd come.
That's
I was
funny.
I'm a ghost.
It's funny that specifically did it for you on an emotional level because I think that would be my main criticism. I didn't feel very emotionally invested in it as I did in...
the second surgery took out your heart, I remember.
I remember. And you mentioned Chris Nolan as well. I feel like I was much more emotionally into something like Dunkirk than I was 1917. So I'm glad to have seen it. I'm glad to see it in theaters, and I certainly enjoyed it. But I actually felt like I was... For me, it didn't hit me emotionally, so I don't know. Sometimes...
Aquaman had some of the images that I still enjoy.
Yes.
The kissing under the sea while the camera's panning around and there are explosions. That did it for me.
And now I guess HBO Max is doing an Aquaman cartoon.
I don't understand.
I don't either.
You know what it is? Also, Spider-Man Turn Off the Dark. Not Turn Off the Dark. That's the musical.
It's a bad musical.
That's not that. Spider-Man... the animated
Into the Spider-Verse.
Into the Spider... Thank you.
You're welcome.
That did it. The whole climax of that film had me in my old self. So... the superhero movies still do it for me.
So now do you need like a low budget prestige film club shirt so you can wear
so I can wear that every time I go see
because
one of these
you've got
things,
your Marvel and you got your Batman, so
Wonder Woman.
Yeah,
you know what, man, I'm listening like non-Marvel X-Men films here.
Well, I guess I'm the bigger Marvel fan.
Jeez.
Here. No, that's not true.
That's
not true by a long shot.
I can't remember the last time an MCU movie had me like, yeah.
I had those moments in Homecoming. There's a few.
Yeah, I had a little in Far From Home.
Mm-hmm.
I think it's just the two directors who did The Last Avengers and Civil War.
Yeah,
they're more down and dirty with their action than let's inspire.
Agreed.
I want to be inspired, people. I want to be inspired to want to fly.
Do you think Black Widow's going to be fun?
Maybe. Who knows?
All right. Well, we could talk about that more when the time comes.
Yeah, a Black Widow spotlight.
I also wanted to mention that I finished the Kaminsky Method first season, Netflix show with Michael Douglas and Alan Arkin. Yeah. I loved it. I thought it was great. Have you watched this at all?
No, I have not.
I don't know if it's your jam. You might like it.
No.
Anyway,
will it inspire me the same way Spider-Man 2 did once?
No, it won't.
Oh,
but
well.
it is like a half-hour show, which is like your jam. So you might enjoy it. But yeah, it's just about the two of them and they're being old men and friends, and I liked it. I love Michael Douglas and I love Alan Arkin. So
yeah, last week you said Michael Douglas was your favorite actor of all time.
Top tier. I love Michael Douglas.
Yeah.
And he gave a shout out to Michael J. Fox, another one of my favorites.
When?
In that movie. Or in the show.
Really?
Yeah. They were just talking about Michael J. Fox. So that's all. Anyway, so that's it as far as bookmark and things.
That's been our Star Trek spotlight.
Thanks for tuning in. Let's move on to some book news.
Oh. Yeah,
we've got some sad book news to start off with. Christopher Tolkien, who's been the really the head of the J.R.R. Tolkien estate for many, many years, took a lot of care going through J.R.R. Tolkien's notes and unpublished things and getting a lot of content out of that. So, of course, we have all of these in our collection, and they remain popular. That's the thing, a lot of them are coming out like nonfiction, like the Beowulf, the epic that he did, which I actually kind of liked. They landed in nonfiction, and still, people are finding them and doing them. So I think he did a good service to that estate, to his father's work, and so it's interesting to see what happens now if they're going to continue along that.
I don't know, who's in charge of the estate at this point?
Yeah,
because would he be the one who's then also in charge of you can make the Hobbit movies? Because there was a bunch of issues with that.
I mean, you have to assume there's like a board and some sort of trust, and not just like one very elderly man making those decisions. But I'm sure he had. I mean, it wouldn't surprise me if he was the final say. Right. Really. So yeah, I don't know. I don't know where it goes from there. But as I said, we have the Christopher Tolkien works here in the collection, so stop in and check them out.
Also, book news. I guess I don't know if you saw the trailer for this. It looks terrible, but it's called The Turning. It's a horror movie coming out with Mackenzie Davis this year.
And Finn Wolfhard, right?
Oh, maybe, yes. It's based on The Turn of the Screw.
Oh, okay.
The book. So that was a page to screen that we didn't really mention.
Oh, yeah.
And also, it's I think it's coming to Netflix or something, but didn't look great.
Well, we didn't mention the Marky Mark one either.
Spencer, that's true.
Spencer Confidential, is that what it's called?
Weird. Yeah.
I mean, I want to watch it. Don't get me wrong. It's Marky Mark and Spencer, so I'm there. But in other book news, the Edgar Awards have been announced. The nominees anyway, so don't get too excited.
Yeah,
it's
calm
just
down.
The nominees.
You didn't hear the awards theme there because there's no awards to hand out.
No, Can we hear the awards theme?
Now?
Yeah.
But we've already...
Just roll it.
Lead us back in.
Nic and Eric present the awards.
Now?
Yeah.
Okay. The Hugo Awards, the nominees are out. So
the Hugo Awards.
You threw me off.
Sorry.
All right. They've announced the nominees for the Edgar Awards. Of course, the Mystery Writers Association comes out with these every year, and it covers fiction, nonfiction, junior, young adult, TV, all of that. So we're just going to do a quick run through.
The nomination process is the real mystery.
Yeah.
So
through some of the nominees. So I'll take you right from the beginning. Best Novel. This includes Fake Like Me by Barbara Borland. The Stranger Diaries by Ellie Griffiths. The River by Peter Heller.
Down
not Peter
by
Weller.
the river.
Not Peter Weller. Peter Heller.
Right.
And as you recall, we did this one for a Sexy New Book Club. And
I do not recall.
I did not want to read this book.
Right, yeah.
And it stays true. Smoke and Ashes by Abir Murkji, and Good Girl, Bad Girl by Michael Robotham. Best First Novel. Nominees include My Lovely Wife by Samantha Downing, Miracle Creek by Angie Kim, The Good Detective by John McMahon, The Secrets We Kept by Laura Prescott.
You know what, though? I tend to hear the secrets that we keep when they're talking in your sleep.
Mm-hmm. The Secrets We Kept by Laura Prescott, 3/5 by John Vercher, American Spy by Lauren Wilkinson. You know, that lead guy from the Romantics was with Ringo Starr in a tour once, so I actually saw him sing that song live. Are you impressed?
A little.
Okay. Best Paperback Original. Dread of Winter by Susan Alice Bickford. So Best Paperback Original, you're likely to buy one of these in an airport. Freedom Road by William Lashner.
Grocery store used to be.
Mm-hmm.
Remember that?
Yeah.
When grocery stores had books?
Maybe in like a Wegmans.
Yeah.
Probably get into
grocery
Wegmans.
stores had books, and our superheroes told us things we needed to hear.
That's right. At the end of the episode, they come out, just because you've stolen that candy. Blood Relations by Jonathan Moore. February's Sun by Alan Parks. I think that's just March.
Okay.
The Hotel Never Sink by Adam O'Fallon Price. The Bird Boys by Lisa Sandlin. That looks spooky.
The Bird Boys?
Yeah.
There's a bunch of boys that are birds.
Best Fact Crime. So I guess calling it true crime is too much, but the Best Fact Crime, The Ghosts of Eden Park.
Oh, snap.
By Karen Abbott. The Less People Know About Us by Axton Betts Hamilton. American Predator, the most meticulous serial killer of the 21st century.
Is this
by Maureen Callahan?
Is this just a novelization of Predator 2?
I don't think
it's where the Predator goes to L.A.
No, it's actually about a real-life serial killer.
The Predator.
No. Norco 80, the true story of the most spectacular bank robbery in American history by Peter Houlihan. Indecent Advances, a hidden history of true crime and prejudice before Stonewall by James Pulchin. Let's take a look at Best Juvenile. You want to read those, buddy?
No, because I don't have the page open.
Well, then I'll tell
you.
Go
ahead. Sorry, I was reading the review on this VHS that's in front of me.
Oh, of Star Trek Insurrection?
Yeah.
We can take a break. Let's discuss
the review says, exciting conflict and cutting-edge special effects that truly entertain.
Thank you.
Who in the review writes, exciting conflict?
Gene Siskel, apparently, of the Chicago Tribune.
The dialogue was spoken.
Best... Well, to be fair, he was trying to come up with something nice to say about Star Trek Insurrection. The collected works, Best Juvenile. Best Juvenile. So you tell me what you think of these. The collected works of Gretchen Oyster by Carrie Fagan. Eventown by Corey Ann Haydu. The Whispers.
What?
The Whispers.
Huh?
Come a little closer.
What?
The Whispers.
Oh.
By Greg Howard.
He said the blisters.
Whisper.
Blisters.
Whisper. All the Greys on Green Street by Laura Tucker. Me and Sam Handle the Apocalypse
Down
by
by the
Susan
schoolyard.
Vogt. That looks kind of fun. Down by the schoolyard?
Me and Julio down by the schoolyard.
Okay. Well, Paul Simon, sure. Catfish. This is the Best Young Adult. Catfishing on Catnet by Naomi Kritzer. I don't like that title. Killing November, which I think is what December does.
Wow.
Killing November by Adriana Mather. Patron Saints of Nothing by Randy Rebay. The Deceivers by Kristen Simons. Wild and Crooked Teeth by Leah Thomas. What do you think of those?
Okay.
Are you excited about any of them?
Pretty good. Yeah. Feeling all right.
Are any of these that have...
I like them.
You being Marky Mark? Are any of these... I know we have a couple of these in the...
We have a couple of those, yeah.
Any of them with any traction? Have you noticed interest in these in particular?
I don't know. Not really.
Patron Saints of Nothing was actually up for the National Book Award as well.
Yeah, I do remember that. We do have that copy.
Okay.
We have a copy of that.
All right.
Yeah.
That particular copy, you said?
That one specific copy that has been nominated.
So that's the Edgar Awards. We will also come back when we have winners. We'll tell you what the winners are, and then we'll have the winners here in the collection at the David A. Howe
And
Public
then those
Library.
winners will be served a chicken dinner.
Will they? What if they're vegetarian?
We have tofu chicken dinner.
Tofu chicken dinner.
Yes.
Oh, that sounds gross.
Sorry, you're the vegetarian.
Well, I don't want tofu chicken dinner.
Okay.
All right.
What
What do you got?
Chickpea chicken dinner? How do I make that?
That would be all right. I like
All right.
chickpeas. I like a good chickpea.
Chickpea dinner
Yeah, chickpea.
as a vegetarian
Maybe
alternative.
Over like a chickpea curry.
Fine. We'll change the whole menu.
You're going to need a lot of spices for that.
Yeah, that's true.
It is involved. New York Times bestseller list. What do we got?
Okay, New York Times bestsellers list today for the...
Come on,
we're back to
fingers
hardcover
crossed.
fiction.
Yes.
What are you hoping for?
New stuff.
Oh, well, we got some.
Yes.
Number 10, Treason by Stuart Woods. Well, this is new. It's his 52nd book in the Stone Barrington seasons.
Wow. You could read one a week for an entire year.
Stone is asked to expose the double agent in the State Department. When's Marky Mark playing Stone Barrington?
Probably about 30 years.
Wow, how old? Marky Mark's too old.
Yeah, Marky Mark's probably in his 50s, right?
Yeah,
Yeah.
maybe older. The Giver of Stars is at number 9. This is back, right? This is the JoJo Moyes one.
Oh, yeah,
Depression
yeah.
Era, Kentucky, getting books over the hills.
Yep.
And then The Dutch House is at number 8 by Ann Patchett.
Yeah, that's got some staying power.
Sure does. Number 7 is The Silent Patient by Alex McKillides.
Yeah, that's back as well.
That is back. It was gone, but it has returned.
Mm-hmm.
The Turn of the
Like
Tide.
Batman.
Number 6, Long Bright River by Liz Moore.
New.
Mickey risked her job with the Philadelphia police by going after a murderer and searching for her missing sister. This isn't the only one with a sister looking for her missing sister.
Well, I hope they find each other.
Sisters, yeah. This was never a plot point on the show. Sisters, though,
With Swoozie Kurtz?
and multiple people.
Yeah, I don't think so.
Celia Ward.
I don't think there was a missing sister.
Was Celia Ward on Sisters?
I think she was, yeah. Yeah, definitely Swoozie Kurtz.
Why the frick was I watching Sisters as
I'm
a
not
small
sure.
child?
Celia Ward.
Who was putting that on the TV and being like, this kid can watch it?
Look, probably your mom.
Number 5, The Guardians by John Grisham. This is what is it? This is the lawyer, Ruthless Killers, where he's taken wrongfully conviction case.
Hey.
Yeah.
Swoozie Kurtz actually played a lawyer in the film Liar Liar. So it was another Swoozie Kurtz connection.
Yeah, the redhead.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Holy frick.
Yeah.
Look up Swoozie Kurtz, The Wire, and tell me if it's the same person.
Okay.
I think I'm wrong. Never
Okay.
mind. I'm very
No,
wrong.
I'm going to look, though.
Number 4, Such a Fun Age by Kyla Reed.
That's fun.
Is it?
No, it's not Swoozie Kurtz.
I didn't think so. All right. Such a Fun Age by Kylie Reed is a tumult.
Tumultuous.
This is a name. Tumult
Okay.
ensures when Alex. Oh wait, no. Look, problems
boy.
arise
Oh,
when
boy.
Alex's babysitter is mistakenly accused of kidnapping her charge. Oh
Swoozie Kurtz did 2 episodes of the Lethal Weapon TV show. Is that what you're thinking of?
no.
Okay.
But we moved on.
Well, now you
Anyway.
know.
Moral Compass by Daniel Steele. Shortly after St. Ambrose Prep goes co-ed, a student is attacked and the community falls apart. Frick,
Yeah.
Daniel Steele.
That's rough.
Number 2, Dear Edward by Anne I got tired. Go ahead.
Napolitano.
Thank you. Anne Napolitano.
This is currently the Barnes & Noble Book Club pick.
Oh, geez.
Probably
Shout out
help-
to Barnes & Noble.
Well, it's probably helping it up the...
Big Barnes over
probably
there.
helping it up the sales.
Yeah.
I just read that the Seattle Barnes & Noble that we were just in
Mm-hmm.
is closed.
Oh, no.
It was a major kind of a tentpole store. So
Is this explaining
news.
all the Barnes & Noble shirts and tote bags that are in your office now? That they're just paying you out with?
I'm a
A
I was
12-year-old.
just in a Barnes & Noble actually.
Congratulations.
Thank you. It was
Yeah.
fun. I got Star Trek Beyond on vinyl.
On vinyl?
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
They had a big 50% off vinyl rack, and
Yeah.
there was Star Trek Beyond. Am I not going to buy it?
Yeah, 50%. You can almost buy it at store price when it comes to 50% at
Yeah.
Barnes & Noble.
Yeah.
Sorry, that was mean.
It was. It was hurtful.
12-year-old boy. It's like that's like if the first primates were making fun of the dinosaurs as they were slowly dying
Yeah.
off of the yeah.
That would have been mean.
Like, want a sweater, Mr. T-Rex?
Yeah. I just did a quick check. Swoozie Kurtz has not been in a dinosaur movie, so there's really no connection.
12-year-old boy tries to start over after becoming the sole survivor of a plane crash in which he lost his immediate family. Dear Edward by Anne Napolitano. Oh,
Yes.
you know what? We talked about this in something. And books were like most anticipated books.
Oh,
of the
yeah,
year,
yeah.
I
I think you're right.
Hey, number 1 is Where the Crawdads Sing. 71
Oh,
weeks
boy.
on this list. 71 weeks.
Oh,
you
boy.
haven't even been around that long.
I haven't been around for 71 weeks.
No.
Yes, I have.
Life-wise.
Yes, I
No.
have.
No.
Yes, I have.
All right, let's talk about Star Trek. Do we have music to play for this?
A Star Trek theme?
Yeah.
I don't think we're allowed. think
Oh,
we're
wait, no,
allowed.
that's the original one.
Yeah.
So what's the... Dun, 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 dun.
Fun fact.
There
There was a theme, a unique theme for Star Trek The Next Generation, but at
Mm-hmm.
the last minute they didn't like it. And so they used the Star Trek The Motion Picture theme. So the Star Trek main theme is just
Yeah.
from the movies.
I know as a super fan,
Yes.
that's important to you,
Yeah.
but that's just the Next Generation theme.
It's actually the movie theme.
No, I know.
Well-
but to everybody else,
Yeah.
it's just the Next Gen theme.
Okay.
And then
Well,
when they hear the first... I mean,
I'll check with William Shatner and get
I
back
know
to
many
you.
people who've watched Next Generation I
Yeah.
know very few people who've watched the very first Star Trek movie.
Well, it's in all the Star Trek movies. You're telling me people have seen The Next Generation, but they haven't watched Star Trek 4 with the whales?
no, that it's true. Yeah, I get that.
Yeah.
But I mean the original one.
Do you think people are watching the whale movie and they're like, why are they using the Next Gen theme?
Maybe.
Okay.
Listen, I
Yes.
just think that for pop culture's mentality,
Yeah.
that theme is the Next Generation theme.
You know what? For once, I agree with you.
Okay.
I think that that's true. All right. Well, today we are going to be talking about Star Trek The Next Generation in anticipation of the CBS All Access
Not
show
to be confused with X-Men Generation X.
Picard. The CBS All Access show Picard.
Yeah.
Coming out this
Big
year in
CBS
2020
over
as we
here.
record, so we're going to be talking a little bit about The Next Generation.
Did you make a deal with CBS/Paramount that if you talk up Picard a lot on this podcast, they'll give you a 4th season of The Odd Couple?
They don't take my calls anymore.
After the
They don't
third
take my
season.
calls. Yeah.
Where's my Odd Couple?
I know. I want to know what's going to happen. Are Felix and Oscar always going to be different? You know what I mean?
Yes.
That's what I want to know.
Yeah. Have you sent in any spec scripts?
Yeah, of course. I've written the 4th season, and I wanted to talk to you about that off mic. So
Yeah.
I wish you wouldn't have brought it
Okay.
up.
Yeah, I assume that you've made it a little bit more serialized. Actually.
Yeah, it is much more serialized. Yeah, the messes that Oscar make stay from episode to episode. So
Yeah.
in that way, it's a little bit more like Babylon 5 than Star Trek: The Next Generation, which
Yeah.
is what
Well,
we're
that's
talking about
been our next gen
today. Eric, let me ask you this.
Okay.
What's your earliest memory of Star Trek: The Next Generation?
Honestly, I think it is my mom and my grandmother trying to get their little small black and white receiver TV to play it.
Was Sisters not on at this time, or what's?
I think this is around the time of Sisters.
No, okay.
But
Was
I
it
remember just being very small, being at my grandmother's and having a little TV that my mom was trying to get, and that was probably the first thing I ever saw of Star Trek.
Mom and Grandma, are they into Star Trek?
I don't know if my grandmother was.
Okay.
But my mom was.
Okay.
And so that's the earliest memory as far back as I can go. I'm pretty sure that's the first time I saw Worf.
Oh, okay.
Was on there, but it was black and white. And then, and very fuzzy. And then, probably my most vivid memories of Star Trek: The Next Generation is, you'd have to tell me if it's the 5th season. I remember the ship just blowing up. I think that's Time and Effect, right?
Cause and Effect.
Cause and Effect.
Yes.
And so I think that's the same year as the 1994 Olympics.
I think it'd be a little, because Star Trek ends in 94, and Cause and Effect is maybe season 5. So
92.
But probably about
Okay.
92. Yeah.
All right. Well, I remember the Olympics being on at the same time. Anyway, I got nice memories of watching Next Gen with my mom while the Olympics were also going, and we were playing Guess Who.
Nice.
So
I also loved Guess Who.
yeah.
Cause and Effect is on my list of favorite episodes. So
Okay.
if you're not familiar with that episode, just as Eric says, before the opening credits, disaster happens, the Enterprise explodes.
I remember there's so many episodes I remember watching as a kid that I have no context for. I just stuff you could have told me they were 5 hours long
Yeah.
in episodes, how kids work.
yeah.
So yeah, that's how I just watched
Cause
it.
and Effect is a classic episode because they're stuck in a time loop. So they
Right.
keep getting to this point, and the Enterprise keeps blowing up. But each time it happens, they have a little bit more awareness, and so they're able to kind of set up a plan in motion that well, I'm not going to tell you how it ends, but
Okay. Yeah.
the other ship that is caught in the trap,
Kelsey Grammer.
they can't walk out. Yeah, that's right. Is Kelsey Grammer as Captain Morgan Bateson,
Yeah.
and he's in a ship. He's been in this time loop since the Kirk era, basically. So
yeah.
it's all the classic Kirk era uniforms
Right.
and stuff. So pretty great episode.
All right.
That's your most vivid childhood memory of
Next Gen, yeah. We hadn't watched the movies or anything.
Yeah.
So, and then growing up, I just didn't really watch it on my own. So,
But you did eventually, right? I mean, you've watched most of Next Gen, haven't you?
me and my wife were on the 4th season.
Okay.
The worst thing you can do when you're trying to binge a show is bring a second party into it.
That's true.
So one day I was like, I'm just gonna binge watch a whole bunch of I watched 10 episodes in a day or something.
Wow.
And then I brought my wife into it, and
Things
now we're
slowed
still in the
down.
4th season.
Things slowed
It's
down.
technically my fault. She's probably always game to watch Next Gen. So I'm
Yeah.
sure if she's listening to it, she's like, I would watch Next Gen right
She's
now.
going to burst through the door.
I know. But it's just, plus there's so much to watch now too.
That's true.
We can talk about maybe why it's slowed down
Okay.
when we get to quality
Sure. Okay.
Next Gen.
For me, and I think you're going to laugh at this, but
Wait, one other vivid childhood memory.
yeah.
My dad got me a kite. It was a Next Generation kite,
A kite?
one of those old plastic kites
Okay.
that you could take to the
And
beach.
it was a kite.
Yeah. So it was just a poster of the Next Gen crew, and I'd just be at the beach flying a Next Gen kite. I don't know if it had Guinan on it.
Ah,
So I don't know if it was a Whoopi one,
be
but it
cool.
had everybody else.
yeah.
So as a kid, as a kid, I had a Next Generation kite because I knew who the Next Gen kids
That's
were.
pretty boss.
So
For
how did I not
me-
get beat up at that beach?
Yeah, that's true.
I
That's a
guess
good
my dad was
question.
there,
I
yeah.
guess, yeah. All Star Trek roads for me lead back to Star Trek Generations. Isn't that weird?
Yeah,
Isn't that strange?
yeah,
So I went to see Star Trek Generations
Mhm.
with my grandma,
yeah.
and I think really just because it was at the dollar movies and like that's what was on, and that was like the time
Mhm.
that we were there, and so we saw Star Trek Generations,
Mhm.
and like
That was
I-
your first Star Trek?
listen. I understood that it was like, oh, this is from the old show and this is from the new show,
Right.
and they're together. Like I had some concept of the
Right.
fact that like of who Kirk was and who Picard was, but
Mhm.
I remember nothing before that. Like,
Right.
I don't remember ever having watched it or
Generation talks so much about the stuff that was happening in the show.
I know. That's
Crazy.
what's so weird about it. But the thing
Yeah.
is, I loved it. Like I loved it.
Wild.
So the very first Star Trek book I ever read was shortly after that, and
The
it was
Generations novelization.
the junior novelization. It was like 1994.
Yeah, the
So-
junior novelization.
Yeah. So I was like 11.
Mm-hmm.
And I went out and we found the junior novelization by John Vornholt,
Mm-hmm.
and that was the first Star Trek book I ever read, and I loved it. I mean, I've always loved time travel, Back to the
Yeah.
Future and all that. So Generations, if you're not familiar with Star Trek Generations, it's the first movie after Next Gen, and it starts with the Kirk era, with Kirk sort of passing the torch, and then we jump to the future with Picard and crew, and then the big resolution is he has to go into this time travel nexus to get Captain Kirk to help him do this,
Yeah,
solve this problem,
Mhm.
defeat this enemy.
yeah.
And
Malcolm
so they-
McDonald.
Yeah. So they have a team up.
Yep, a bit.
And like now watching it, to me, it highlights so aggressively like what I like about the original series and what I don't like about Next Gen.
Okay, I don't think Generations.
No, I know, but hear me out, because the first like half hour of this is like Kirk and Scotty and Chekhov on the new
Uh-huh.
Enterprise, and
Right.
things are going. It's all like action packed,
Right.
and they're like they go and they rescue Guinan and
Uh-huh.
all that. And then it jumps to the Next Gen era,
Uh-huh.
where they're all on the holodeck
Yeah.
on like an old British ship, all
Uh-huh.
dressed in their costumes, like promoting
Mhm.
Worf. And it's a real hard transition.
Okay,
It is a hard transition.
I know you're the Star Trek guy, but I think we need to veer away from Generations if we're doing a Next Generations
we do.
episode.
We do. I'm just saying that's where
We're
it
talking about the
begins.
highlights. We shouldn't
That's
be
where it begins.
focusing so much on Generations.
And I still have a soft spot in my heart for Next Gen or for Generations.
the movie
But it is kind of a rough watch, I
Yeah.
think. I don't think it really suits. I don't think it
with
serves.
their goofy little pirate party.
Yeah, I don't think it serves the Next Gen.
We're doing
crew
it for the laugh of it, Data.
very well. I think there's some really good. I think Picard has a lot of really good moments, but I don't think outside of that it's a good representation at all of the
Okay.
Next Gen crew.
So you watched Generations. You read the book.
Yeah.
You were blown away as a child how Malcolm McDonald's dialogue looks on paper.
Yeah.
And then, if this is in '94, like you
Yeah.
said, Next Gen is over.
Yeah.
So when did you watch Next Gen for the first time? Like,
yeah,
really?
I guess it was. I guess I watched a little bit like in the high school years because it was on like Spike TV. Do you remember Spike TV?
Yeah.
Spike-
Yeah. When it was, that's like while they had
Yeah.
that in a G4, like the
Yeah.
old video game network, also
Yeah.
had that.
So Next Gen was on a lot, like
Mhm.
multiple times a day. So I would watch it like in high school and just but random episodes. Are you thinking about how your Star Trek fandom?
I'm thinking about
predates
how in
mine.
1994 I
Yeah.
knew way more about Next Gen than you did.
You did.
As like
Yeah.
an 8-year-old, I was
Yeah.
like, you don't know anything about Worf.
Yeah. But if you want to go
Wow.
down that road, then I guess I have to point out that my X-Men fandom
No, let's not talk about
starts in
this.
the 80s, and yours starts in the year 2000. But that's
In the
neither
year
that's neither here nor there.
All right, so
I would watch random episodes of
Right.
Next Gen, and
but
then it
not in
wasn't-
order.
No,
Just whatever Spike was showing.
basically.
Okay.
And it wasn't really until college that we really like sat down and watched it all.
I guess
through.
I guess I'm a little smug about it, but I'm also just kind of shocked to think that like I was watching Next Gen live
it's true.
and
Yeah.
not you.
I know.
Quantum Leap was your thing in the
I did.
80s and
I
early
did.
90s, right?
I did love Quantum Leap.
So.
Yes. But so I'd seen a lot more of the original series, but I had like VHS tapes of the original series. And the library I worked at when I was in high school and college also had a bunch of like the early, like The Cage and
Right.
some of the classic Kirk episodes.
Have
had
you
them on
ever watched
VHS,
it
so.
just from beginning to end?
I have, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. But not until later. That's
Right.
what I mean. Not until like really like high school and then into college.
So
I really sat down and watched it all.
It's more accurate to say that you married a bigger Next Gen fan than
Absolutely.
yourself. So
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Yes, it's her Star Trek.
oh.
Anyway.
So in a lot of ways, then you kind of skip Next Gen, like into the Star Trek canon. You went from because you're a big fan of the original Star Trek,
Yeah.
and then you're a huge fan of Voyager.
Right.
So like Next Gen is almost like you leapt over it in a way.
I don't think there was ever a time that I was like.
Did you watch Voyager live?
Well, it was the Voyager was on UPN,
Yeah.
so it was like such a quirky thing.
Yeah.
So Voyager was still on, but we were watching like the weekday,
Syndication.
syndicated like reruns.
Well, that's what Next Gen was. Like they created it and made all these like syndication deals.
Yeah.
That like I still don't really understand, but like it was just airing all the time.
Well, Next Gen, like Jeopardy of Wheel of Fortune or something. It's like anybody who wants to pony up the dough can show Next Gen.
Yeah.
That's just the way it was. But
okay, where do we go next on this technically Next Generation spotlight?
Yeah, well, I think maybe if we just kind of take a look at the series, take a look at some of the characters.
Okay.
I've chosen this. So I've read a million Star Trek books, as you know, and I chose a couple of Picard-centric books that I particularly like that I'll share in a minute. But the show ran for 7 seasons, debuted in 1987, and went to 1994. 178 total episodes. Do you have favorites?
Do I have favorite episodes?
Yeah. Let's talk about the characters for
Okay.
one thing, because it's a big departure, I think, from the original crew.
Right.
Because you really had that the trilogy of McCoy, Spock, and Kirk, and whereas
Right.
Next Gen is much more ensemble based, I think, where everybody really like gets their chance to shine.
Right.
Type wise, it's very different. Next Gen has a lot of its roots in the Star Trek Phase 2 series that never happened.
Right.
And you look at Star Trek the Motion Picture, and you can see pretty obviously the characters in there. Will Decker and Ilea are pretty clearly the
Will
roots
Riker
of Will
and,
Riker and Deanna.
Yeah.
And actually they used some of the Star Trek Phase 2 scripts in Next Generation. Like there's one where Deanna is like magically pregnant, and that was a Star
with
Trek
that floaty alien thing.
That was a Star Trek Phase
floaty
2
alien
script.
ball.
But so coming out of nowhere, after the movies had been going for a while, I think it was kind of a gamble, really, to show you a new crew and all that, and go for such a different tone. And I think the first
and also to be so aggressively bad out of the gate.
Yes,
which it's kind of shocking
Yeah.
to think just how many bad episodes there were in that first season, and then they were like, let's give it a second season.
I can't think of a show that has a worse first season than Next Generation.
It's rough. It was rough to get through.
Yeah.
It just had no clue who its characters were.
No.
It had no clue what it was doing.
No.
Every episode, every week was like, oh, maybe this will be good.
Yeah.
No.
And there's a couple like straight up like we're doing that one from the original series.
Yeah.
But not well.
It's even worse. I feel maybe it wasn't so bad watching it live as it was happening because you didn't know who the characters were.
Yeah.
But watching it after like you have a handle on Data and Worf and everything, then it's just like, oh, this isn't right.
It is
this
pretty
is
painful.
bad.
It's pretty painful.
Yeah. So shocking.
I do actually. I
Except
still,
for Q.
Yeah, Q's
Whenever
fun.
Q shows up.
I was gonna say I still enjoy Encounter at Farpoint, the pilot.
yeah.
I think that's actually a pretty strong, pilot movie and a pretty decent intro to those characters. Of course, you have a fun cameo of DeForest Kelley playing an older Dr. McCoy, very old.
Yeah.
But outside of Encounter at Farpoint, I'd be pretty hard pressed to say a first season episode.
I watched a whole bunch of the first season on tape.
Yeah.
Somebody I worked with just gave me a whole bunch of VHS copies of Next Gen.
Yeah.
And so I just watched a bunch of those with 80s commercials attaced.
That's fun. Pie in Minutes.
Pie in Minutes.
That's where the Pie in Minutes
It
commercial
sure does.
comes from.
So the first season's bad.
Yep.
So, like, for me, like, I've seen a whole bunch of episodes as a kid without realizing what episodes they were or anything. A lot of times I'm just like, wasn't there an episode where this happened? And so where me and my wife are, we're up to, like, the 4th season. We're on episode 11 of season 4.
Wow.
So some things have happened.
So specific.
She doesn't like the Borg.
The Borg.
She finds them stressful and gross.
I don't think the Borg really find their groove until either First Contact
Here we go.
or
Here,
Voyager. Well, those do much more with the Borg.
Can you get Hillary on the line, please, for this Next Gen spotlight?
Yeah. Sorry.
So okay. Next Gen, help me. I've only seen almost 4 seasons.
Oh, okay. Well, let's talk a little bit about the characters.
Okay. I like Picard.
Yeah. So we got Captain Picard. We got Will Riker as the first officer. We've got our first Klingon with Worf there as head of security eventually. We have Data.
Yep, I like Data.
Geordi LaForge, who starts
Geordi.
as like a comm officer and then becomes...
Yeah. As a kid, I will tell you this. As a kid, I always thought Geordi was both cooler and more of like a tragic figure because of his visor than when I watch it now and he can't even go on a date.
Yeah.
You know?
He really can't.
So he's tragic in a different way.
You have Beverly Crusher, who is the Doctor in 6 of 7 seasons. Season 2, they replaced her with Diana Muldaur, who was in the original series as
Beverly Crusher is probably my Star Trek crush.
Really?
Yeah.
She's probably my least favorite character.
That's stupid.
Yeah.
Okay. What about the episode where they go to like the 1950s in the holodeck?
Yeah, the big goodbye.
Yeah.
That's kind of fun.
And she's all... Forget it.
Yeah. Yeah.
That's it.
Sorry.
She's gorgeous.
All right. Sorry.
So,
and then Deanna Troi as a ship's counselor, and we have Tasha Yar for a half a season as security chief, and then she pops up here and there over
Mackenzie
time.
Davis would play Tasha Yar if it was today.
Who's that?
She's going to be in the Turning of the Screw.
Oh, okay. Yeah, okay. I could see
She
that.
was in the new Terminator.
I could see that.
Yeah.
So the first season, as we said, kind of struggles.
You forgot Guinan.
And Guinan,
Whoopi Goldberg.
Recurring character, Whoopi Goldberg as Guinan. Whoopi Goldberg, who wanted to be on the show because she was so inspired by Nichelle Nichols on the original series, actually approached them and were like, please let me do this. And they finally were like, oh, you're serious? Okay. You know.
Yeah, it's kind of like how Eddie Murphy wanted to be in the Wales one.
Star Trek 4, it was originally written with Eddie Murphy in mind as the marine biologist.
He turned it down for something, and he said it was the biggest mistake he ever made of his career.
Yeah.
At that point, I don't think he had made Pluto Nash.
Yeah, that's true. That was pre-Pluto Nash. So the first season does struggle a little bit, and then season 2, we didn't mention Wesley Crusher.
I was about to say, Wesley Crusher, season 1.
Yep.
Gosh, how did this show get a second season?
I know.
So much is focused on Wesley.
You
would think that it's a kid's show.
I know.
And maybe that's what they were thinking at times.
Could be.
I can't imagine that's what Gene Roddenberry was thinking.
Yeah.
But from what I've gotten, it seems like the original Star Trek was very big for kids.
Yeah.
And as was and it has that animated series. So maybe they just thought you needed kid stuff in the DNA of a Star Trek show for it to work. Crazy.
Yeah, it is crazy.
Because he sucks.
he is a pretty bad character, and when we interviewed Mel Gilden a few episodes back here, talked about his Star Trek work, and I also interviewed him for the 902 and Here We Go podcast. And on that interview, he brought up his book Boogeyman. We were talking about this, and he said that he always thought that Wesley Crusher had the potential to be a good character and was written poorly. So in the book Boogeyman, he tries to make Wesley an actual good character.
Yeah.
And he succeeds. But again, it's about Wesley.
That's something where if hey, write a Star Trek Next Generation book, I'd be like, okay, and Wesley's off at school this
pretty
week.
much.
He would be written out every time.
Wesley's a regular for the first 4 seasons. Can you believe that? And then he shows up in seasons 5 and 7.
No, I know. We're past he's gone now since we were there.
So long,
and his last episode's bad.
Yeah.
All right. So you don't it's funny because you always talk about how it doesn't have the big 3. But as a kid, I always just assumed the big 3 was Picard, Riker, and Data.
That's
But I guess that's a preference thing, depending on how you feel about characters. Maybe
Yeah.
other people see Deanna Troi as in the Trinity. Maybe it's a Troi.
I just don't think. I think
Riker
with the
Picard.
original series, I mean, you can't get away from that trio. And in Next Gen, it really the trio sort of even if you even have a traditional trio, it really fluctuates based on the needs of the episode, which I think is good. I think that's a good
you would say the needs of the
storytelling.
episode outweigh the needs of the trio. For me personally, in my fiction and whatnot, I like ensemble casts.
Yeah.
That's why I'm a big fan of the X-Men and why I find the Fantastic Four to be so limiting. So Next Gen having an ensemble cast, I like because it gives you the ability to do a lot more with certain characters or character interactions. I like all that stuff. So that's one of the things I like more about Generations over Next Gen.
Okay.
Also, I never watched the old show, the original show.
It wasn't until more recently that I actually did a sit down and watch start to finish everything, because I'd seen most episodes, but I don't think I'd ever really sat down and gone step by step in the original series. But do you have a favorite character in the Next Generation?
Data.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
Why do you like Data?
Well, as a kid, I definitely understood he was
human.
a robot. I just always found that fascinating. And there's that one Data episode where Lore's there. I know you hate Lore.
I'm not a fan of Lore.
But also his creator is there.
Yeah.
And Brett Spiner is playing all 3 of them. I can't remember what it's called. Not Data's Day.
Yeah.
But I like that episode. I I think a lot, like when I watch it now, I'm like, oh, Data's kind of silly with the whole like processing.
That's only season 1.
Yeah.
He knocks that off.
But as a kid, like I was just like, so he's a robot when he wants to be human?
Yeah.
Gosh.
Well, it's funny because it's sort of like the anti-Spock, where Spock's whole thing is wanting to be less human.
Mm-hmm.
And they have, when Spock eventually guest stars on Next Gen,
Yeah.
he and Data have a scene where they kind of acknowledge that, that they're opposites in that way.
Other memories of Next Gen that aren't now. My mom had a huge crush on Riker, particularly bearded Riker.
Oh, sure.
Yeah.
Nobody likes unbearded Riker.
Yeah.
I guess except for Gene Siskel because he loves Insurrection.
That's true. Yeah. There you go.
Okay. I would probably say, I think Picard is a great character. I think he's a good captain.
Yeah.
I think if I had to pick a favorite character, it's hard. But I would probably lean towards Riker. I think he just has the most
He's old school times
going on. Yeah, he is.
He'll
but
punch somebody.
He's just in so many different situations.
Yeah.
And I think his relationship with Picard
Mm-hmm.
is really key. And it's not like the super chummy relationship you have in the original series.
Picard?
It really changes over the course of the show, but it's a
Right.
non-traditional friendship, I think.
Picard is great, but like the writers sometimes forget why people like him and then just try to like Generations, where like he's shown like his greatest fantasy, like if he could have anything, what would it be? It would be like have an old styled British family with a bunch of like children in their bonnets listening to him tell a Christmas story by the fireplace, and it just doesn't seem like that's the Picard thing. I don't know it. And then, like, the lack of understanding with the whole, like, Crusher Picard thing. Like, they know they have something and that they have chemistry, and we, the audience, like to see that. But none of the movies ever address it.
No, they don't.
So stupid.
I really feel like, and maybe the new series is going to address some of these things, but I think the two biggest flaws in the Picard character's arc is that he never has a child, and that is such a thing. And nothing ever resolves with Beverly. Not even like, I guess we just won't do this. It's just sort of, why not? Why not just resolve that? It's crazy.
Yeah.
It's absolutely
It's
crazy. So I would probably have to give it to Riker as my favorite. But I really like Deanna Troi. I sort of feel like she's my sentimental favorite. And I think that's largely because of the books. Because the books give her a much more like nuanced thing rather than her just saying like, oh, this person who is clearly furious, I think he's mad.
Yeah.
I think he's
sense
mad.
you want a pair.
Yeah.
Why, do you have pairs? No.
But I'm just getting a... Poor Deanna, though, is really, like, tossed through the ringer. I feel like in the first several seasons, they're like, we need someone to have some sort of trauma.
Yeah.
Let's have Troy handle that.
Okay.
I feel like... And this is where maybe I'll get in trouble a little bit. Because I think in some ways Next Gen doesn't age so well. I don't know that it has the same, like, when you watch it feels very much like you're watching a show of like the 80s, 90s. Like the sort of it's so earnest, like it's just so earnest. It's rarely tongue in cheek, I sometimes I don't know how well that ages. What do you think?
Yeah, it's a little bit slower since they're from the 80s. So and they're an hour long. Sometimes the episodes can feel a little draggy.
Yeah.
But sometimes when it's on, it's on.
Oh yeah, absolutely. It has some really amazing episodes.
But yes, they're especially like, the first season is horrible, but there are times like, boy, still 30 minutes in, huh?
Yeah.
But I don't know how.
Sometimes I do feel like it trips over itself trying to get across its like moral. Like it has, this is the essence. This is the, like, if you distill it down, this is what we want to come across. And sometimes I feel like that maybe jockeys for position with what's most important as far as like structure of the episode. And where I feel like the original series, because it's in the 60s, because it lands where it lands, and it has had the benefit of 50 plus years, that it has more of a timeless feel at this point than I think the Next Gen does. I think another show probably would be like Enterprise, which doesn't really age well because it feels so set in like the year 2000 or whatever. Not that I think that Next Gen and Enterprise are like on the same level or anything, but
you dig this space hole.
But you know what I'm saying though. It doesn't always. You're not going to give me anything.
I'm not going to give you anything comparing Next Gen to Enterprise.
I'm not comparing it to Enterprise. I'm just saying.
I'm just using Enterprise as an example.
I'm saying
for
Enterprise has the problem of being stuck in the 2000s, and I think when Next Gen is not firing in all cylinders,
you know what the 2000s
it feels
felt like?
Very much like a show in 1991.
In the 2000s, we were like, boy, it feels like we're stuck with Enterprise.
Yeah.
Though, to be fair, my mom really likes Enterprise. So
Yeah. Well, what are you going to do?
look, my mom's the Star Trek fan.
Okay.
She's the Star Trek fan in my family. I don't know if you can totally tell, but Star Trek in general is not my franchise.
Yeah.
Like, I like Next Gen and I like Star Trek, but it's obviously I haven't seen all the episodes, but I come from a family of Star Trek fans of the original Star Trek and then all the way through of my mom and her siblings, all big Star Trek fans.
I feel like one of the things where Next Gen is maybe the most successful of all Star Trek is that the ensemble is very relatable. Like there's so many relationships to explore there, and I feel like more than any other Star Trek series, the deepness of those characters' connections, I think, is really, you can kind of put them anywhere and you still are interested in those characters, and there's still things to explore in all of those relationships.
Well,
it's very complex in that way.
I mean, also to a lot of people, Next Generation just is Star Trek.
Yeah.
And also, I mean, Next Gen, I mean, it's crazy to think that it had 7 seasons of its own, but also then, I mean, you got Deep Space Nine and Voyager.
Yeah.
I mean, it was 20 years? There was always a Star Trek show on TV because Next Gen was able to bring it back. And considering that the first series, was canceled after only 3 seasons, that seems like it's kind of crazy because you see something like the new Blade Runner. It's like, let's make a big budget sequel to a cult film that nobody saw in theaters, and then it bombs, and people are like, but why? But then, you have something like Star Trek Next Generation. Let's also make a show to a show that didn't, that we didn't keep on the air. And then it's, a big hit.
Yeah.
It's kind of shocking.
That's the thing I think you got to give Next Gen its due, because you're right. I think probably for the majority of people out there, maybe they are, if they had to name a Star Trek character, they may more likely say Kirk
or
than
Spock.
Picard. Yeah, Kirk or Spock. But I think you're right. Next Gen is the one. Next Gen is the reason why we still have Star Trek today. I think more than the original series. I think Next Gen is really the thing.
It was the 80s.
Yeah.
I mean, with the original crew movies and the Next Gen thing, people were like, oh, wait, people do like Star Trek.
But I just kind of wonder if they hadn't decided to make the Next Generation and Star Trek 6 happened. I think it's pretty likely that would have been it.
That would have been it. Just 6 Star Trek movies and then you're done.
And I really think that would have done it. So I think you're absolutely right that
it's too
Next
bad.
Gen is it's the linchpin.
Yeah. It's too bad, but it also makes sense that Next Generation doesn't have any good movies because it's a crew and a style of Star Trek that doesn't lend itself well to an action film.
Yeah.
Even though it's funny because First Contact's their best one, and it's definitely the action one.
Oh, yeah.
But I really like that's probably my second favorite Star Trek movie.
Yeah.
First Contact's a lot of fun.
It is.
But outside of that, I mean, Generations, which changed your life, I mean, completely. But then Insurrection and Nemesis, they're just hard to watch.
Generations, I mean, we've talked about it so much, but the Next Gen stuff really does, to me, feel like a subpar episode. I think the stuff with Kirk, and particularly the Kirk Picard scenes, I think are very compelling and very good, but it does not serve the Next Gen well. First Contact it's such a departure. I mean, it feels like nothing
It's a zombie
else.
film. It's fisticuffs.
Yeah.
I mean, Picard's fighting the board with a wrench.
Yeah, it's suddenly like Picard is John McClane in that movie.
Yeah, it's basically Die Hard Star Trek.
It is Die Hard Star Trek.
So,
and I mean, it's the reason why it's so much fun and why it's so popular. I don't know, I don't know that I would really pick that as this is what the Next Generation is, because it's such a divergence. But again, I mean, I think it landed just at the right time.
I tell you what, it's the good kind of 90s sci-fi movie, whereas Insurrection is the bad kind of sci-fi movie.
It fully succeeds as a 90s action flick.
Yeah,
absolutely.
It's good stuff.
Insurrection, again, is more I think it would have made a fine episode, but I just don't think there's really enough there.
That's the thing. First Contact feels like a movie.
Yeah.
And Insurrection feels like we have this script left over that we didn't use for season 8.
Right.
So.
Yep, exactly. Nemesis, I have a weird relationship with Nemesis. I feel like I change my mind on how I feel about Nemesis every time I've watched it.
It has some moments.
It does.
But it's also just such a downer.
It is. I would say
not great.
Of the 4 movies, Nemesis to me is the one that feels the most cinematic. It feels the most like
it's 2002,
movie.
yeah.
You know what I mean? It does have a certain grandiose to it that I think works as a movie. I think a lot of the problems with that is the directing. You know, you have Frakes for the Jonathan Frakes, who played Will Riker for the previous 2 movies. Then you bring in somebody new who has no familiarity with the crew, doesn't care about this franchise, and is the one who like closes the door on the Next Generation. It's just madness. And so like a lot of the things you really want, like character resolutions, Picard and Beverly, that sort of thing.
No.
I think somebody who was invested in those characters would have pulled those out, whereas it feels more standalone in a lot of ways, and it feels more cold.
Again, Mom, who's a big Next Gen fan and Star Trek fan in general, was not a big fan of the last one.
Well,
she
I
was
think,
pretty upset.
Yeah, I think most people would share that. I think in time, and especially since we're going to be revisiting the characters in Picard, and it's not the like the end cap that we all have thought it was for the last 15 plus years. You know.
Yeah.
I do think there's. I don't think it's a bad movie. How about that?
Oh.
You think it's bad?
Yeah, I don't really like it.
Okay,
so
that's fair. Let's talk about some favorite episodes.
Okay.
You already mentioned Cause and Effect. That's definitely
I remember watching
on my
that as a
list.
kid.
Yeah.
So
Do you have some favorite episodes you want to mention?
that I've seen? Goodness.
Well, then I'll go.
I like Q episodes
Okay.
in general.
Yeah.
Like I can't name a specific, but anytime he's there, even if it's not a good episode, I'm still being entertained by a Q performance.
Yeah.
So
John Delancey leaves it all on the table.
he cracks me up in all the right ways, which are this like he presses all the right buttons to make me laugh, which are the same buttons to make Kendra, my wife, just not entertained. She hates Q.
And Q he's only in one episode of Deep Space Nine and multiples of Voyager.
Yeah.
He works well on Voyager too. But Q.
There's the Picard episode where he goes on the vacation. It's kind of like Indiana Jones, and it's silly, but like it's kind of funny because he like meets a girl and has like a one night stand and all this adventure. It's just kind of like, but when you put Picard in that position, it's just so silly.
Tapestry is on my list for favorite episodes. Do you remember Tapestry? Tapestry is where Picard is injured, and because he has a false heart, like the injuries kill him. And so Q basically shows up and says, like, if you didn't have that false heart, then you would have lived. And so he takes him back to his academy days and basically gives him a chance to not be brash and start this fight that has him losing his heart in his academy days. And so, or not academy, but early in his career.
Right.
And it's just a great episode because you see a very different side of Picard. And then he jumps back into the regular timeline where he didn't make these bold decisions as a kid, basically. And he's just like a dumpy astrophysics lieutenant.
Right.
And Riker's like, I don't think you really have what it takes.
Yeah.
It's a great episode. I love it.
The first like Borg 2-parter is pretty good.
Best of both worlds.
Yeah. That's pretty intense.
Oh, yeah.
Again, I like the Data episode with where he's playing all 3 characters. That's a pretty good
I
episode.
remember the title of that. Somebody's going to yell at us somewhere and tell us.
Yeah.
An early episode that I love, and is one of the ones that people don't like, is the Royale. Are you familiar with this one? Riker and Worf and Data beam down to this planet because they scan some sort of like NASA tech, and when they beam down, they're in basically an old like 1950s hotel, or probably 1970s really hotel.
Okay.
And they're just trapped in this scenario, and they don't know what's going on.
I don't remember. I don't know if this is as early as you think it is. Then
It's season 2.
Really? I don't remember this episode.
It's season 2. Yeah, they're stuck in this hotel called the Royale, and they later learn that somebody had found like an old cheesy novel, and the whatever technology or whatever like beings come across this create this scenario for the astronauts who were trapped there, so they'd have something familiar. But then they get stuck in it and they don't know how to break it. I love it. I just think it's a great episode. So that's the Royale.
Do you have a favorite O'Brien episode?
I don't.
No.
I
He's a bigger
don't.
character in Deep Space Nine.
You know what? Actually, I don't remember. I think it's called Disaster, maybe. It's one where Deanna, Rolaren, and Miles O'Brien are trapped on the bridge, and Deanna has to sort of assume command because she's the highest rank. And so it's like her and O'Brien.
Tell you what, the episode where Tasha Yar dies and does the whole like
Skin
speech,
of Evil, yes.
the speech on her hologram. I don't think I've ever wanted to tear my skin off and scream for so long. That speech goes on for 80 minutes.
I don't think that the acting is very
Lieutenant
strong
Riker.
ever.
You rock.
Does she say you rock?
She says you rock. Maybe it wasn't about
Oh,
Riker, but it's
boy.
about somebody
That's
else.
awful.
So, yeah. You don't like lore?
I don't like lore.
You don't like
No.
the Borg,
I do like the Borg.
but not on Next Gen.
Yeah, I mean, I like Iborg
Okay.
with Hugh. I like that character. He's in both the Iborg and the two-parter.
What about Descendants?
Descent,
Where Descent with Lore and the Borg.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I just don't like Lore, and I feel like Data is so out of character in that. But anyway, I'll tell you,
Barclay?
Barclay.
Yeah.
Yeah, Barclay is he's in First Contact, and he's in a couple episodes of Next Gen. Weirdly, he's in more episodes of Voyager, but he's an engineering lieutenant who's just like he's afraid of the transporter. He can't get anything done. He becomes obsessed with the holodeck, all that sort of stuff. And so he and Deanna are paired together quite often.
Okay.
Yeah, he's a pretty fun character.
Deanna's mom.
What?
Deanna's mom.
Loxana Troy?
Yeah. Do you like her?
Not particularly.
She kind of cracks me up.
I mean, yeah, she sells it. She definitely sells it.
It's always so stupid, but whenever she's like, Picard,
Yeah.
what naughty thoughts?
Yeah.
He's like, well, I never.
Yeah. Yeah. Okay. All right. You're right.
That cracks me up.
Pretty fun.
Yeah.
Yesterday's Enterprise. That's usually on lists of some of the best ones, but this is where some time anomaly happens and the Enterprise C gets pulled away, so it's not able to help the Klingons, and then that leads to this war.
Yeah.
And so you jump to the whole crew, basically in a war scenario, and Guinan's the only one who realizes that time has changed, and Tasha is there still, and there's a whole thing where they have to sort of put the Enterprise C back. That's a great episode.
Wasn't there one with Tasha's sister, but it was also played by her?
There is one with Tasha's sister, but it's not played by her. But you might be thinking of that actress, Denise Crosby, comes back as Tasha's daughter, who's half Romulan, in the later seasons. Like, she's in Unification when Spock shows up.
Interesting.
It's not good.
Oh, okay.
She's never good. I love Sarek, who is Spock's father, as you know, I'm sure. There's an episode where he comes to do a peace talk, basically, but he's suffering from this syndrome. So Picard has to basically do a mind meld and take all of his emotions.
Yeah.
It's some amazing acting from Patrick Stewart.
Yeah.
That's the thing about Next Gen. I mean, Patrick Stewart.
He does that whole thing like, Spock, my son.
Yeah. Yes. But, I mean, there's that. There's family where he goes back after the Borg thing and has the whole thing with his brother. Oh, yeah,
with his brother, and they, like, fight in the mud and everything.
Yeah, there's the Inner Light, where he experiences this whole lifetime.
What? Man, I don't think
Chain
I've watched
of Command,
it yet.
where he's tortured.
With the episode where he's like stuck in an elevator with kids.
Yeah.
I hear my uncle was telling me that's like a hilarious one.
Yeah.
So because he doesn't like kids.
It's not bad. That's the one. That's the one with Deanna and that's the one with Deanna and Miles and Ro on the bridge.
Okay.
Picard's like stuck in an elevator. Yep.
Yeah.
What else? Well, Cause and Effect, as we mentioned. I also really like Relics. That's the one with Scotty from the original series, and I think that's the most successful original
Scotty
series
episode thing. Yeah.
Just anytime they've had the original, I think Unification with Spock is kind of a letdown.
And, yeah, that's what I hear. We
so
haven't gotten to that one yet.
Relics, I think, is pretty cool with Scotty. Tapestry, as I mentioned. One of my all-time favorites is a Worf episode, which is crazy. Worf comes back from this tournament, and things around him keep changing. He keeps popping into different universes, but he's the only one who notices. I love episodes like that.
It was so disconcerting to start watching Next Gen as a young adult, versus when I was a kid, because I always thought Worf was so scary and tough, and then you watch him, it's like, oh, yeah, anybody can really take down Worf.
Prune juice.
It's one of those things where it's like, to show somebody's tough, you have them take down Worf, but that means everybody's tough, and Worf is not every episode.
Right.
So, yeah.
Finally, for favorite episodes, All Good Things, which is the finale. I think it's an excellent episode, and again, great acting by Picard. Yeah. The things that even though I'm critical of some of its more 80s 90s tropes, I think the thing that makes this series have the staying power and the deep emotional connection that people have to it is the characters and the acting, and I think particularly Patrick Stewart is just an amazing actor. Yeah, he brings that to this. He brings it to the X-Men franchise. Anything he's in, I feel like is made better.
Did we just segue into an X-Men spotlight?
No, but anytime you want, we could do that. Yeah, and so I think it's great that we're going to be revisiting him.
It's crazy to think that Patrick Stewart's legs in apathy throughout the years, with him having to be in the chair for Next Gen and then in the chair for X-Men.
That's true.
Just there must have been times get me a role where I'm running.
He wants to
give me a running role.
Run. Yep. Yeah. I mean, he did get to move on Next Gen.
A little bit. Yeah.
He wasn't
a
always
bit.
in the chair.
He doesn't get to dance, does he?
Yeah.
Did he ever dance?
So is Next Gen your favorite Star Trek series?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think so.
All right. Here are some of my favorite Next Gen books.
But
I
like the original Star Trek movies more.
Yeah, that's how I kind of am with Voyager and the original movies. It's a real toss up.
Yeah.
So I picked a couple of books here that are Picard centric that I think are some of my favorite of the next gen books. So I'll just run through them real quickly. The Valiant by Michael Jan Friedman. So this is actually set when Picard's a lieutenant and is a really good like character piece for Picard. The next one would be The Buried Age by Christopher L. Bennett. This is one that, again, is set about 10 years before Next Gen starts. So you see a younger Picard on the Stargazer. just a really good book.
The funniest like Next Gen book I ever saw was in your house. And it was like a young Picard. Maybe it was even called that.
Yeah.
And the little subtitle says, "Will Captain Picard's first mission be his last?"
Yeah.
And you're just like, no.
Probably not.
Probably not.
It probably won't be. Another one that I think is really interesting is Captain's Honor by our friend David Dvorkin. So you can go back and listen to our interview with David Dvorkin. But basically, this is a really good. It's centered on Picard and Riker and how they're interacting with this other Captain Sejanus, and it's a good character piece, and it's a very atypical Star Trek book. So it might be a good entry point there. There's a whole series set between Insurrection and Nemesis, and they're all a time to ...
Does Next Gen have like an author who's done the most? Am I wrong to think Kevin J. Anderson there?
Yes, you are.
Okay.
I don't think Kevin J. Anderson's done Star Trek.
Oh, then who am I thinking of?
Michael Jan Friedman has done a ton of these. There's quite a few. Michael Jan Friedman wrote the whole like Stargazer series and all that.
Listen, my goal is to finish Next Gen with my wife, and then I'm going to watch Deep Space Nine on my own because I don't think she'd care for it. But then we're going to make her watch Voyager, if that helps.
That's cool.
Because I know you love Voyager.
Yeah.
And then
Picard is actually in the pilot of Deep Space Nine. Fun, huh?
Oh, yeah.
No.
Like Forrest Kelly was in the pilot of...
That's right. And Quark is in the Voyager pilot.
Is that true?
Who knows? Yep.
And then 7 of 9 is an Enterprise, but it doesn't make any sense.
No, it's Zephyrin Cochrane from First Contact is in Enterprise.
Oh.
What are you going to do?
Okay.
So the whole A Time To series is pretty good, but A Time to Be Born is where it starts. That's by John Vornholm.
What's those one book
follows,
series that you
Picard.
love? That is it Titan?
Oh, Titan,
The Riker series
Titan
or something?
follows Will Riker, but I don't love that series.
Oh, you just read a lot of it.
I have read a lot of it.
Okay.
Because
that was like early on, like the first episodes of this podcast. You were always reading like a new Titan. book.
there was a turning point where I had always sort of lamented that Star Wars got to have this cool interconnected universe, and Next Gen, everything, all Star Trek was just episodic, and then the post like Star Trek Nemesis books all became like one thing,
right?
And then it was really hard to follow, and made it so I couldn't just pick up a book. So I sort of.
Yeah.
Be careful what you wish for.
Yeah, that monkey
there,
paw was not the gift you thought it would be.
There are some cool Titan books, but
Okay.
as a whole, I don't particularly
All right.
enjoy the series. Death in Winter by Michael Jan Friedman. It's sort of right after Nemesis, and it's a really good Picard Beverly story. And finally, Resistance by J.M. Dillard is a Borg story that's very good.
Is there
Several of these we have in our collection.
Is there a book right now if somebody's like, hey, I want to watch Picard, but I haven't watched Next Gen. Give me a book.
Just to sum up Picard as a whole?
Yeah.
Boy, that would be hard.
Yeah.
In some ways, I feel like maybe Death in Winter, just because it's set after Nemesis and sort of resets Picard for like the next era.
Right.
So, I mean, that's kind of a weird one to say to start with, but if you're looking at going into Picard, I think that might be a decent place because it's picking up after.
The comic for the reboot Star Trek, the 2009 Star Trek, deals with Picard.
Yeah.
And has Geordi and Data and everything. So I wonder if that's actually going to be important.
I wonder how closely they're going to stick to that because it is the whole prelude to the J.J. Abrams reboot movie is set in Next Generation.
Yeah.
And that comic is a great story. So yeah, I don't know how much they're going to stick to that because the destruction of Romulus is a pretty key part of Picard.
Are you excited for Picard?
I am. Yeah. I'm nervous about it.
Are you a fan because of 7 of 9? Is that why you're excited?
I think here's the thing with 7 of 9. I think 7 of 9 is a Voyager character, if you're not familiar, a former Borg Voyager character. I think it shows a lot of like that they're respecting like the franchise by having 7 of 9 in there because realistically after Voyager you can't really tell a Borg story and not include 7 of 9. But I think usually what happens on TV is that you just don't do that.
Right.
You know? So the fact that they went to that trouble of saying, hey, we need to have 7 of 9 in this, and then actually getting her, I think, is a good indication that the series is in good hands. So
also kind of big to get maybe he just wants to work Brett Spiner. Because he was constantly be like, can you kill me off in this movie, please?
I'm not sure. I know. I've heard Jonathan Frakes and Marina Sirtis as Deanna Troi. along with Brent Spiner, are going to be in it. But
If
I
they
don't
don't bring Crusher in and have them get married,
I know.
I'm going to be livid.
I know.
So,
All right. So what are your final thoughts?
or do you prefer the other Doctor for season 2, the next gen season 2 Doctor, whatever her name is? She's like 80 years old.
Dr. Pulaski?
Yeah. Are you a Dr. Pulaski fan?
I do like Dr. Pulaski. I think that
Dr. Pulaski is such a jerk.
Here's the thing with that, though, because with Next Generation, there was a
Yeah.
big thing where there can be no internal conflict.
Uh-huh.
Like, they can't be mad at each other or fight with each other or have
Right.
any of that. So they're always, with very few exceptions, like on the same
That
page.
changes.
It
Once
does.
Roddenberry gets a little hands off.
It does. It does. But I think the nice thing about Pulaski in season 2 is that it does kind of shake up that, like, we're all best friends who
But-
deeply respect
But
each other.
the person, she's not even like just disagreeing with Data. She's like, you are a toaster?
yeah.
I want to make toast with you.
Yeah.
That's it.
Yeah.
That's all you're good for. And it's just
Yeah.
like,
I think her treatment of Data, like the way they wrote her interactions with Data, I
Yeah.
think that's what
It's-
killed that character.
it's not even just like she's a disagreeable. She just like bullies this robot. Is like, I would like to try to be human. She's like, well, good luck because
Yeah.
you're stupid.
Yeah.
And this table has more personality
Yeah.
than you. And I hate this table.
That's only season 2. If
Yeah.
you don't want to, if you don't want to deal with that, that's
yeah,
just,
that's
that's
Pulaski.
season
Do you think
2.
she'll be back? Oh,
I
she's-
don't.
Hmm.
I don't think she's dead.
Oh.
No, I don't think she's
she was
dead.
the voice of Doctor, the Batman Doctor lady, Liz Tompkins,
Oh, okay.
on the animated series.
That's cool.
But that's because they made Liz Tompkins like 80 years old.
Leslie Tompkins.
Leslie Tompkins.
Okay.
Sorry, I'm calling her Liz Tompkins.
Yeah, Liz is not short for Leslie. But
What?
it's short for Elizabeth.
What?
Yeah.
What? Huh. All right.
In Gotham, they call that character Lee.
Lee.
Yeah.
That's what I'm missing. Anyway.
So let's.
Don't you school me on
I'm
Gotham.
sorry.
I've seen all 5 seasons.
I know you have.
Where's
I know
our
you have.
Gotham spotlight?
So in conclusion, what are
Mhm.
your feelings on the Next Generation?
I like Next Generation.
Yeah.
I mean, it kills me that we haven't watched it all the way through, but like you said, there is some like pacing and dated issues with it that makes it a little bit harder to just put on and just watch all the time. But I like Next Gen, and I'll probably never not like Next Gen. I'll probably never rewatch the first season now that I finally have watched the whole thing. But I like that. I like First Contact. I like the characters. I mean, that would be my Star Trek, the Next Gen crew. So it's the one I have the warmest memories for.
Okay.
So
Yeah, and I think you're right that that's true of probably most now. Wouldn't you say? I mean, I think most people.
Yeah,
have that.
though the more we talk to some people, the more I hear Voyager
Really?
these days. Yeah,
Deep
you know what
Space
it is
Nine has
too.
a very passionate fan base.
Yeah,
well,
that as well. So, and I hope Picard does well.
I do too.
It kind of blows my mind that this is only the first show since Voyager ended to deal with like that universe, the post Nemesis
I know.
timeline. It's crazy,
It
but
is really
hopefully,
strange. Timeline wise, Nemesis is the last thing we see.
it drives me crazy that wasn't what Discovery was. That it could have just done everything that it was doing in its like first season.
Yes.
And just had done that,
Absolutely.
and probably been more satisfying to some
Yes.
people
No
out of the
question.
gate.
No question. I still, even though I've kind of come around on Discovery with the way they've handled some things, I still think it's a mistake to put it where they put it.
Yeah,
I think it ties their
so
hands.
I'm hoping Picard leads the way to like a new original Star Trek that's set, like in this time and not.
Well, I think even though I love the original movies, and I even enjoyed 2 out of 3 of the JJ movies, I think that Star Trek is better suited for like long-term storytelling rather than movies. So
Well,
now
it just means you can have guest stars because I mean, like, look, Picard. Everybody's excited to see 7 and 9 for Picard.
Yeah.
You can't. But were you super excited when like we've recast Spock for a 3rd time?
No. But I was really excited when Janeway showed up in Nemesis.
Yes, you get all the fun assignments.
But, you know, again, I do think Star Trek's better served that way, and I would much rather see like a new, modern, you know, set in the post-Nemesis
What's a
era
good Janeway
series.
quote? What's your Janeway quote?
Get off my ship.
No, the other one.
Sometimes you have to punch your way through.
That's it. Any good next-gen video games that you ever played? I know Picard shows up in one of the games that you like to play.
Yeah, Star Trek Elite Force 2 is set on the Enterprise.
Yeah, so he's like given the assignments, right?
Yeah, you don't have it's like Picard and Barclay, who we mentioned earlier,
Right.
and
Is
Tuvok.
Barclay the dog?
Barclay's not the
That's
dog.
going to be in Picard?
No, that's
he should
different.
be.
That's different. So yeah, Elite Force 2 is pretty good. There hasn't. I don't feel like there's been a ton of really good Star Trek video games.
No, it's like same thing like movies. Next Gen does not lend itself well to video games. Though there was a Super Nintendo.
Yeah.
game.
There's a PC game called Hidden Evil that's set right around Insurrection that I've always wanted to play, and it's like I don't know. You got to figure it out.
Honestly,
for me.
I mean, probably the best if you want like a good Star Trek game, you should probably just play Mass Effect. So
Is that? I don't get that reference.
well, just because it kind of like would match that tone of like dealing with aliens and trying to get a peaceful solution. A lot of conversational puzzles and elements. So
well, speaking of video games, I mean, I haven't played a ton of this, but Star Trek Online actually did go deeper into the future.
Yeah,
like you do see things past that.
That's true because
era.
you can play as Romulans and you're dealing with the fact that you don't have a planet anymore.
Yeah,
so
you can go. You see some of the Voyager characters.
I did play some Star Trek Online for about a week.
Yeah.
It was fun.
I think Star Trek Voyager, Elite Force, and then Elite Force 2, which is set on the Enterprise, are really the best Star Trek games that are out there. I think.
Yeah.
I mean, at the end of the day, for me with Next Gen, like even though I have like criticisms and things that I like more than other things, I don't really have anything bad to say about it because it's it's the one that kept the lights on. It's the one that I think has the most emotional resonance for the most people. I think it's why we still have Star Trek today.
And it's the one where sometimes they were hanging out with Robin Hood.
That's true. That's true. The characters are great. That's the thing. The characters, I feel like even in a bad episode, the characters and their relationships can kind of get you through.
There's some bad episodes where I don't think that's true, but
yeah, you might be right.
There's some, that first season, again.
Are you going to be watching Picard, or are you going to wait until you finish Next
Gen?
So
I told Kendra we can't watch Picard because we haven't finished Next Gen, and she hasn't seen Voyager.
Yeah.
And her response was like, or we just watched Picard. So I don't think she cares. She tells me she knows who 7 and 9 is.
Okay.
I don't know. She's a crazy person.
You could watch a few. I mean, I could hook you up with a few good Voyager episodes if she wants to know who 7 or 9 is.
See, also, I watched Voyager when it was happening, so I saw the 7 and 9 stuff as it was happening.
Are you the real Star Trek fan here?
No, it was just my mom is, again.
Okay.
So, like, she was watching it while I was, like, on the computer or something because we only had one TV in the living room. So it was just, like, that kind of thing. I don't think we ever really watched Deep Space Nine, and Enterprise was never on. So it was Next Gen and Voyager that I saw, like, on TV.
Okay.
But, yeah.
All right.
This has been our Star Wars spotlight. Over Star Wars.
Neither one of us said the wrong thing this time.
No, I know. It's because we weren't interviewing anybody and we weren't under
we said Star Trek the whole way. Well, again, you can go back to soundcloud.com/allthebooks, look at episode 48 where we talk about Star Trek in general. Look at all of our Star Trek-related author interviews. You can find that again, soundcloud.com/allthebooks. You can find it there. All right, well, I enjoyed the Star Trek spotlight that we did here today, Eric. Thanks for being game.
Thanks, man. Hey, you're talking to the real Next Gen fan.
I know.
Even though I haven't seen all the episodes,
Understood.
I had a kite as a kid, a Next Generation kite.
Yeah, you did.
At the beach.
Listen, before we close up shop, I mean, I just have to say, the acting is so good in Next Generation. I think even when the material lets them down, you know, like LeVar Burton has some really great moments.
Yeah.
I mean, he's Roots and other things. He's a great actor anyway, but I just think you have a lot of talent in that episode.
Yeah.
In that series, it gets overshadowed by the fact that it's, genre. I think that it often gets, you don't take it as seriously as you might, and I think that's one of the benefits of someone like.
I think
Patrick
at the
Stewart,
time though, also Next Gen was just like it was huge because like you look at all like the guest stars they were getting, like people just wanted to be on the Star Trek show that was going on. Yeah, we gotta get out of this. We're in a cause and effect right now.
You're
of
right.
our own.
I know. Where's Kelsey
Every
Grammer?
5 minutes we're like, but here's the thing.
He's gonna show up. All right.
You think if we talk long enough, Kelsey Grammer will show up?
He might.
That'd be fun.
He might.
Yeah.
Well, let's look at some library news. Our concerts are starting back up again. We have Alex Cole down in the auditorium. That's going to be on January 23rd. That's our first concert of the year. We've got some fun programming coming up in February, some historical lectures and other things like that. Book Club is currently reading The Great Gatsby. We're going to be doing a series where we do a classic and then a modern interpretation of that classic, so you can join us for that book club anytime you'd like. Then we've got tons of movies in the auditorium and lots of other things going on here at the library. Anything special you want to mention?
We're doing a board game night here at the library.
Yes.
18-year-old plus.
Really?
Oh, is that the way to say it? Look, it's an adult board game club.
Okay. I don't think you should call it an adult board game club.
It's a board game club for grown-ups.
Okay, that's good.
It's not a kids program.
Yeah.
So that can be fun. Bring your own games.
Yeah,
BYOG.
Yeah.
Bring your own games.
Yeah, you can have food.
Well, in some of the games, there's food.
Oh, okay.
place.
Like Mousetrap, where you have to get the cheese.
No, like
because it's not a kid's game.
like
I
Sushi
understand.
Go.
Sushi Go.
Also, we're doing an adult anime night.
Yeah.
On Monday.
Uh-huh.
So we're going to be watching Psycho Pass and Snow White with the Red Hair.
Ooh.
Psycho Pass is really cool. I've seen a few episodes, and
Okay.
I'm excited to get through the
So
whole thing.
you're actually streaming episodes of a show, not just a
We
movie.
got the Blu-rays.
That's awesome.
To watch them in high def. So yeah, we're just going to
Nice.
be working our way through those. Then we have Teen Night on Wednesdays at 5:30, and also we're starting a bi-weekly art club for kids.
Wow.
So I got some like 8x10 canvases we're going to paint on for the
Busy
first night.
times here at the David A. Howe Public Library.
Um,
We also, I want to mention too, for some library advocacy,
Mm-hmm.
we have some special postcards that are meant to, you just stop in, you fill one out, talk about how much you love your library, and then we send them on to representatives in government to just show how important library funding is. So real simple thing, you just stop in, fill out the postcard, and we send it for you, no worries, and it just helps spread the word of the kinds of things that libraries can do, because sometimes they forget. So we got to remind them. I don't think we have anything set for the next episode.
yes, we do.
We
There's
do?
an awards.
That's right. That's right.
The
Youth
Media
Media Awards. So we're gonna have to get Kate back on the podcast for next week.
You delivered that message.
I will.
To her.
I'll talk to Kate about that. I also want to do a Green Arrow spotlight because Arrow's coming to a close in the coming weeks. So
Okay.
do that and more. All right.
Yeah.
That's going to do it for this week's episode of the All the Book Show. Thanks for tuning in, listening to us talk about Star Trek, and we'll see you next time.